and all the other things that we do. But this is a consistent live stream here in the Green Hills studio. This looks like this is going to be what we end up doing over time pretty much every day. So we'll have some kinks to work out, but I mean, I guess I'm excited. And Chase and Ryan and Ian and everybody else, they've worked really, really hard to make this a reality. So if you want to watch, come on, watch along. If you you don't want to listen, keep listening, knock yourself out. Okay. So it's funny. David Poyle did a sit down with The Athletic, and he, as he does every week, he goes on Darren, Donick, and Chase, and he is very candid. I can at least appreciate that. I don't agree with a lot of the moves that David Poyle has made over the last couple of years. I think the Predators are in kind of need of a little bit of a reset temporarily, maybe bring things down a notch, just simply because, well, they're not very good. But one thing that is frustrating, and it frustrates me, and it frustrates you, and I know that it frustrates him, and it frustrates the coaching staff, and it has been a point of contention, is the lack of production from two $8 million guys. Matt Duchene makes $8 million, and Ryan Johansson makes $8 million. So far on the season, no goals for either guy. We had Chris Mason on the show earlier in the week. We had Hal Gill on the show earlier in the week, and there was like this big question, right, that was, why are these guys struggling to put the puck in the net, specifically Duchene? And I think it was Chris who said something along the lines of, hey, there's nobody who feels worse about it than Matt Duchene. And that's great, except that it's his job to score. It's his job to make an impact. And I know, hey, it's guaranteed money in hockey, and Adam Vingan and everybody else kind of tried to warn you with Duchene of, hey, this is what he's been over his career. He had a great free agent year in Columbus, a great walk year, and you're going to be paying him like he's a top-end guy, and he's not. And Johansson was kind of the same way. He had that great playoff run. You had to pay him because you used Seth Jones in order to get him, and this is kind of what he is, which is not an elite number one center. But it's funny because I keep hearing the questions. How long until you kind of get frustrated with everything? How long until, what's the line where you tell Matt Duchene to keep plugging away even though he's not scoring? David Poyle was asked about that yesterday on the Midday Show. Take a listen.
How important is it, for you and obviously John Hines and the coaching staff to keep pushing him to break through and score goals like you need him to, but also, remind him he is doing a lot of good things along the way as well?
Yeah, it's a fine line. I mean, I thought we started off the game last night really good. We had 5 or 6 really good looks. Duchene getting the best look, and of course, Vasilevsky makes an outstanding save on him at the beginning of the game. And we've only scored the first goal once in 9 games, so that's something that we'd like to get corrected, and we'd like to be a little bit of a front runner. But I agree with what you're saying, and it's always this fine line of being patient and positive towards your players and your team, and things are going to work out. But on the other hand, we really need our top guys to be producing, and Matt is one of them. And we've got some other guys that really don't have too much to show from either a goal standpoint or a point standpoint. And again, it all goes into why we are where we are today. And if they had been scoring the way they thought they could be scoring, I think we'd be off to a much better start than we are right now.
I mean, basically, David Poyle is telling you, hey, Chase, I understand, and I appreciate the question, but the guys who are paid to score have to score. And there is no way around it. The guys who are paid to score have to score. And it's so funny because the questions are the same, whether it's John Hines, whether it's the players, whether it's David Poyle. I mean, even in The Athletic, in his sit down with Adam Vingan, he was asked about it, and he said, quote, I clearly think that they're capable. There's no doubt there, but they've got to do something. They've got to make some changes. I could see them both being a little unlucky in some situations, and that's supposed to even out over the course of time. I believe in that process. But having said that, you've got to keep pushing to find different ways of doing things or trying different things. You can't be unlucky forever. We're not going to be successful unless they produce. And because I didn't sign these guys, and I can kind of tell it like it is, I would just say, aren't you kind of done waiting on Ryan Johansson to turn the corner? Aren't you kind of over Matt Duchene and the idea of making some kind of excuse? Matt Duchene is getting close. Ryan Johansson, it looks like he's there. He's just so close just to turning that corner, and all of a sudden, aren't you kind of over it? How long have we had this talk with Ryan Johansson for? I mean, it almost feels in a way like the Marcus Mariota discussion. And I'll raise my hand and say, hey, when the Mariota discussion was front and center around here, and it was, I was one of the people who said, hey, this guy, he's got franchise potential. Marcus Mariota is that kind of guy. I said it. I will admit I said it. And then finally we got to a point where Mariota had shown us he wasn't that, and that it was time to start thinking about somebody else. And it wasn't Ryan Tannehill that we all thought about. There was a lot of discussion about whether or not Justin Herbert was the guy, whether or not they were going to draft somebody, be bad enough to be able to draft high, or would they have to go try to get a Matthew Stafford? We never really thought Tannehill was going to be, but we knew at that point, like, look, Mariota is not the guy. With Johansson and Duchene, and they're going to play this year, but aren't we kind of done with this? Not the team, not the coach, not the GM, us. Aren't you kind of done waiting on Matt Duchene? Aren't you kind of done waiting on Ryan Johansson? Even when Ryan Johansson was playing well in the playoff run in 2017, that was 4 years ago. And he got hurt before probably the hardest part of that run. I'm done waiting for these guys. I'm done looking at them make one play one time and say, see, Duchene's got it. Johansson's got it. Like, I'm done with that. They are what they are. They're big. They've got some skill. They've got some talent. They're underachievers. It's like I watched UT basketball yesterday. Rick Barnes loses a game at Ole Miss that the Vols had no business losing. They were up the whole game. Ole Miss, who's not a good team, comes back at the end, wins in the end because UT can't make a free throw. Welcome to Rick Barnes basketball, where what your end result of what you get is always going to be lower than what it actually should be. Now, they may not have a good team some years, and that's fine. They may have really good teams other years. He'll get to some Sweet 16s. He'll win some games. But if Tennessee basketball is supposed to be here, if Rick Barnes is supposed to be here, they will end up usually finishing here, because that's what he is. That's what he's been his entire career. Texas, now this. Johansson and Duchene are what they are. And so this idea that all of a sudden all of these tough ones are eventually going to fall. These guys aren't power hitters in the lineup who've hit 55 home runs, made all-star games, and, hey, they're just hitting some line drives that are getting caught. These guys have never performed up to the level that we have all hoped that one day they could, and they're not going to perform to that level. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And for me, like, I'm not down on the coach. Like yesterday, I felt like the text line was just all over the coach. I'm not down on the team. I think they're losing to teams that are better than them. I think they are beating teams that they are better than. There hasn't been kind of a swing one way or another. But just the waiting on guys who we've propped up as stars who aren't star players, that to me, I think I've gotten to a point where I think I've seen enough of that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. John Hines keeps harping on one element of the Predators game. David Poyle harped on it. It constantly gets talked about. And yet, as somebody who watches these games, I'm not sure I see the same thing. We'll get to what that is coming up next. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company's live from the Wholesale Inc. studio, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. We're also streaming on the Game Nashville app. We're streaming now on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, this hour. Go find it. Stillman & Company, delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Tune in all week long as we're live from Radio Row. Actually, we're just sitting on our couches from home like everyone else.
The mystique that comes with Tom Brady, he just always finds a way to get it done.
For the latest coverage of Sunday's big game.
I'd love to watch Belichick right now watching this game.
Keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples has everything you need to start the year right, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organization supplies, all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start this year with big savings from Staples.
The Mercedes-Benz New Year Certified Pre-Owned event is on now at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Certified Pre-Owned means you have the power of Mercedes-Benz standing behind your purchase, backed up with an unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get a 2-month payment credit up to $1,500, as well as 1.99% for 36 months on all eligible models. Go to mbofmc.com. Mercedes-Benz of Music City was recently rated the #1 Mercedes-Benz dealership in the entire state of Tennessee by consumers on DealerRater.com. See dealer for complete details and exclusions. All finance consultant subject to credit approval by MBFS. Must take delivery by March 1st, 2021.
Hey, Jared Stillman here to tell you about my most recent experience with moving. Everybody, including me, hates moving. Well, that was until I found my friends at TriStar Moving. That's right. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service through the entire process. There's a reason their motto is TriStar Moving with 5-star service. Everything was taken care of, from covering the floors, banisters, railings, the front door, the threshold, the door itself. And they wrapped and protected all of the furniture in my house and put all the TVs, you know I got a lot of them, in protective boxes. They even offer storage services in case you need a safe place to store your stuff. They do it all. The owners, Garrett and Robert, are true Nashvillians, and they care about helping the community in any way they can. So if you're in need of a move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call at 615-640-1219 or visit their website, nashvillemoving.org/radio. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move.
You owe over $10,000 in back taxes. You've called every tax firm out there. They all say the same thing, making promises they never keep, and you're sick of it. What you really need is a new start on your back taxes. If you're faced with garnishments, levies, audits, or years of unfiled tax returns, we'll fight to get you the new start you deserve. Call 1-800-715-6576. Our New Start program will stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS has in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. That's right, 80%. Don't wait until another tax season ends and another year of penalties and interest are added to your balance. If you owe at least $10,000 to the IRS and need a new start on your back taxes, call 1-800-715-6576. That's 1-800-715-6576. Let the professionals at Coast One Financial Group fight to get you the new start you deserve. Again, that's 1-800-715-6576.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving. We are on the stream right now on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Knock yourself out. We're on it for the 3 o'clock hour today. This is something that we probably expect to be rolling with, I'm guessing, every day for 4 hours, probably next week. Hey, Preds fans, join us tonight. Smashville Live, by the way, always right here you can watch. Join us from 6 to 7 tonight for Smashville Live, featuring Matthew Olivier and Philip Forsberg, hosted by Robbie Stanley and Chris Mason. Smashville Live airs every Wednesday on 102.5 The Game during the Preds season, and will feature Preds players, former players, and other special guests. They've also gone virtual. So watch the show online again via 102.5 The Game's Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and thegamenashville.com. Smashville Live brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka and Red Spirits and Wine in W. Just reading it right here off of my phone. So it's funny that the Predators have lost pretty much every game they should lose. If you look at the pundits, if you just look at where they are kind of in the standings, they're not as good as Tampa, defending Cup champion. They're not as good as Dallas, the defending Western Conference champion. And obviously this year it'll be a little different. But they're not as good as those two teams, and they're probably not as good as Carolina, who they lost to, and then the second game got canceled because of COVID. They swept Columbus, who's probably on even footing with the Predators, and they swept Chicago, who's terrible. And yet, it's so funny because the penalty kill has really done them in, especially against Dallas and Tampa Bay. And when I listen to John Hines and David Poyle, and I listen to the broadcasters that we have on the show, it seems like the penalty kill is the number one topic. Like, hey, get the penalty kill fixed, and they will be okay. Both Hines and Poyle have talked about it. Here's John Hines. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think the penalties is a big thing with it. This is going to be addressed for, there's only so many times you can address until you're going to put a stop to it. So we're going to have a discussion about this prior to our next game for the last time. That's one. Once you have to kill that many penalties, your bench gets disrupted. Guys that don't penalty kill, they're out. And then when the lines come back, you got to get a little bit of a reset coming out of that. And then when you're coming from behind, I think if it's one or two, it's still you're still right in there. But when it gets to three, sometimes you got to overplay some guys that you think are possibly gonna be able to produce or playing well. So. I think there's multiple effects, but I'd say when we've gotten games where we've been in penalty trouble, that's probably the biggest issue.
So that's a problem, the penalty kill. And he's talking about it. Hey, it's bad when it's one or two, but we can kill it all. We can do this. Poyle yesterday. This is a long clip on Darren Donican Chase. Now, David Poyle talks a lot, and we all appreciate that. But this is what David Poyle said about the penalty kill yesterday. Take a listen.
It's an understatement to say that the Dallas game when they scored the 5 power play goals was a turning point, but it certainly has us back on our heels, and you can see it, you can feel it whenever we take a penalty. It really is now changing the momentum of the game and not in the right direction. We have got to get over that. We've got to become better at that because it's affecting our whole play. It's not just the 2 minutes that we're killing off a penalty. We're having trouble recovering after the penalty time has expired. So it's a huge concern right now for our team and something that we've got to get better at real soon because it's affecting all different parts of our game right now. As far as being specific, it's everything. I mean, I guess picking on everybody. I mean, we need to have the goaltenders make an additional save. We need the defensemen to box out a little bit better. We need our forwards to get their sticks in the lanes to block some shots. A lot of different things that aren't happening that which all goes part and parcel of making a good penalty killing. I do think again we have the personnel to do it, but it's not giving us a great chance to be successful, and that's an area that is a big concern that we have got to get straightened away real soon.
So he's not wrong. Here's the thing, though. I watch these games. I don't think the penalty kill is like the number one problem that is ailing the Predators. I didn't watch the Tampa games. And yes, the penalty kill was a disaster, especially in the second Tampa game. And it was a disaster in the first Dallas game. But I didn't watch those 2-game series and walk out of that and say, you know what? If the Predators had a good penalty kill, they would have been better than the Tampa Bay Lightning. If the Predators had a good penalty kill, they would have been better than the Dallas Stars. I didn't feel that way. To give you an example of where I did feel that way, when they went 0-15 on the power play in the playoffs 2 years ago against Dallas, and they lost in overtime in Game 6, I walked out of that series and I said, they lost Game 6 because their power play is terrible. They probably hurt themselves in Game 1 because their power play was terrible. That legitimately cost them the series. I don't feel that way about these 4 losses to Dallas and Tampa Bay. I think the Predators, from a talent standpoint, are significantly outmatched when it comes to teams that are ready to compete now and win. Those 2 teams were in the Cup final last year. They are win now teams. Their fan bases, their coaches, their GMs, they have expectations to be competing for the Cup right now. They are better than you. Just like you're better than Chicago. And next weekend, Detroit comes to town, you got to win both because Detroit's a terrible team. But this whole idea of like, hey, just fix the penalty kill and they'll be competing with Tampa Bay, I'm not there. Even when they lost by a goal and they had a shot to win the game on Saturday night, even then it kind of felt internally, it kind of felt like they don't belong on the same ice with these guys. We got a bunch of texts to the text line to get to. 615-737-1025. Our text line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, at what point, Jared, do we start pointing the finger at David Poyle? Some of the signings seem to keep us scratching our heads. Are we surprised that Matt Duchene is underperforming this much? We get irritated with guys like Johansson, Turris, and Duchene because they aren't performing up to their contracts. Now we're having to pay for Turris for several more years because he underperformed. How many more questionable signings and questionable moves does Poyle have to make before we talk about maybe moving on from him? I have long pointed the finger at David Poyle for the decline of the Predators. I would guess probably the year that they won the Central Division, lost to Dallas 2 years ago, I looked at it and I said, every move they made this year didn't work. I mean, you even go back to the President's Trophy team. They traded a first-round pick for Ryan Hartman. That was just an unmitigated disaster. A first-round pick for Ryan Hartman. I said it at the time. I've told this story. I was at my old apartment. So this is before I even was in my last house, to this one. And the Predators it was the trade deadline, and there were a lot of rumors about who all the Preds might go after. And so, you know how they come out on Twitter on trade deadline day of one guy, Pierre Leblanc, comes out and they say, Ryan Hartman to the Predators. And then it's kind of like, okay, what's the compensation? And as I'm brushing my teeth at my old apartment, I remember I had the toothbrush. I was like, first round pick. And I could not believe that they offered a first-round pick for Ryan Hartman. And that was a big deal to me. I mean, I harped on that a lot. So then they really hyped up Tolvanen that year. So far, it hasn't worked out. He just scored his first goal the other night. David Poyle is certainly on some kind of seat. Now, Adam Vingan asked it in his piece in The Athletic about, have you talked to ownership? And that is kind of when Adam Vingan asks the coach about their job status. To me, that kind of feels like the moment of truth where he's putting somebody on the hot seat. It certainly happened that way with Peter. And Adam Vingan asked David Poyle and said, how does ownership feel about the direction of the team? And David said, quote, well, I think you'd have to ask ownership about that. That would not be something for me to comment on. We've won a lot. We haven't gotten to the finish line, but we've won a lot in the last 5 or 6 years. We've been right up there with most teams. We didn't quite get to the finish line, so we're going to go in a different direction right now. And so we're going in a different direction right now is what Poyle said. To answer your question, talking about you, the fan, in the text line, talking really about Poyle, that's kind of an ownership thing. But I do think that he's decided he wants to change the look of the team, the look of the roster. It's changed. They're not a great team, but I don't think any of us had the expectations that they were going to be a great team this year. I said going into the year, I don't have any expectations. I want to see the young guys play, which finally Tolvanen got in the other night. I want to see if these core players are going to prove that they're actually part of the core that they need to have going forward. Duchene, Johansson, I think, the jury is kind of figuring them out. Same thing with Hines. Do we think this guy is the coach to get the Predators to the next level or the next step that they need to be at? And I personally don't think so. So I hear you, but and when I say I don't think so, I mean, I don't think that we've gotten that verdict yet. But that's what this year was for to me the whole time. But I don't know when the moment will be where I put my foot down on Poyle and I say, okay, I've seen enough. I said last year that after the loss to Arizona, that maybe Poyle deserved a one more year to get this going in the right direction. And then if it didn't feel like it was going in the right direction, then maybe you can make a change. I think I'll stay with that right now. I want to see how this year plays out and how we all feel about the direction of the team at the end of this year. 615-737-1025. We got a lot of Preds text to get to. A lot of people are loading up the text line. A lot of people are not happy. 615-737-1025. If you have a Preds stat, go ahead and get that in. Plus, David Poyle asked about fan anger towards him by Adam Bington. What he had to say, we'll touch on that coming up next as well. Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let me tell you, you know who thick and thin with the Predators. Win or loss, no matter what, you see that Happy Hiller logo right there on the ice. They love the Predators. They're proud supporters of the Preds and proud supporters of the Vols. And they have done a fantastic job of giving you great options you can work with. What do I mean by that? Well, we had all those great financing offers in January. We might have as good or better, maybe better for the month of February. So you got to get in right now with my friends at Hiller. You got to call today. They are offering great financing deals on HVAC replacements. From now until the end of the month, upgrade your HVAC system and pay no interest for 60 months. They're also offering a $99 HVAC tune-up this month. Regular maintenance helps you avoid costly repairs in the future. And while you're there, they'll give you 50% off all standard repairs. They're also offering 10% off Tesla charger installations, and they'll throw in a free electrical inspection with that and new tankless water heaters for only $64 a month. They are taking every precaution possible to keep people's safety in mind: gloves, masks, social distance, digital payments, and much, much more. Happy you'll be here. The service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Vols and the Preds. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Willie Donick.
There's got to be a combination of these things, I think, for it to work.
Aaron Donick and Chase, weekdays 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, it's Chase McKay. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, invites you to discover a brand new way to bet parlays. Introducing One Game Parlay, an exciting new feature designed to help you make selections within a single game from over 400 bet types, including team and player props. Log into your BetMGM account and raise the stakes for a chance to win big. Making your same game win total and prop pick is easy with One Game Parlay. New to BetMGM? Sign up today and make every play of every game matter more than ever. You can make One Game Parlay bets on pro football, soccer, and NBA games, with more sports coming soon. Go ahead and take your favorite player to score, the home team to cover, and the over in the yards for the star running back. It's that easy. Log in today or download the BetMGM app and try One Game Parlay. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older, must be present in Tennessee. For gambling problem support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
The big game is finally here, and that means super savings from Electronic Express. Get the full game day experience with a new 4K TV, like a huge 75-inch 4K Samsung TV for only $9.99, and a 70-inch 4K TV from LG for just $6.99. We also have a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for only $3.99. We guarantee best prices, like a 55-inch 4K UHD TV for $229. That's right, just $229. Plus up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express is helping you get ready for the big game with super savings. We make it happen.
If there's one thing we all need right now, it's to celebrate a little more love and a little more romance. At Genesis Diamonds, that's our specialty. And for Valentine's this year, we're helping you celebrate your love with an irresistible offer. Now through February 13th, just spend as little as $299 on a fabulous piece of jewelry, and we'll give you a bouquet of fresh cut flowers, a box of gourmet chocolates, and dinner anywhere you like. Our gift to you. It takes someone wonderful to catch your heart. So we've put together a special collection of timeless and affordable gifts that we know they'll love. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and more. Just purchase any piece of jewelry for $299 or more, and we'll give you a fresh bouquet of flowers from Jenny's Flowers, gourmet chocolates, and an Uber Eats gift card for a safe dinner wherever you want. Make Valentine's one to remember this year with this exclusive offer. Jewelry, flowers, chocolates, and dinner. The ultimate romantic combination. Only from Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs. Limited quantity. See store for details.
Preds Insiders with Ryan Porth.
That is a quality hire to a pretty solid group under John Hines.
Stay up to date with the latest in Smashville. Mondays at 6. Preds Insiders brought to you by Dr. Kelly Rice. We are Smashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
To his credit, Mikhail Granlund has jumped right in there and he's produced, and he's looked in top form just from the minute he came out there.
Yeah, he's clearly, for me, he's been our best player, and he's got a whole new gear this year, and obviously, wants to be a top player, wants to score. So we just need a couple more Michael Granlunds right now to pull this team together and to get us over the hump. I just think we just need to have a couple of better performances from our top players. I mean, we're a little bit goal challenged right now, and some of our top guys have to carry the load right now to get everybody on board and to get us into that consistent area that I'm really hoping that we can get to real fast.
That was David Poyle yesterday on Darren Donick and Chase. And let me just say this. No offense to Mikhail Granlund, who honestly I have never liked and has played a lot better with the Predators since John Hines became the coach. And I wasn't all that excited when he came back, but he certainly, it's a good thing they have him because they can't score without him. And I guess, if we're sitting here saying, hey, you know what, they need more Mikhail Granlunds, what's that tell you? Like, what's that tell you about your $8 million top-line center, Ryan Johansson? What's that tell you about your $6 million winger, Philip Forsberg? Your $8 million second-line guy, the white whale, Matt Duchene? What's it say about all those guys that we're sitting there and we're saying, oh, God, if they just had more Granlunds? And that's kind of where we look at the Predators right now. Now, I get Hal Gill was on our show yesterday. Hal said that he thinks these two games against Florida tomorrow and Friday, that those are huge games. I don't disagree with him. And I think we'll be, like, if you're mad now and they lose both games, be more mad on Friday, Saturday. If you are like me and you're just kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying, hey, let's see how they play and let's go from there and kind of take our time, like, I'm okay with that too. That's where I am. The one thing about Preds fans right now is I don't think there are any Preds fans who say what they're seeing is okay. Adam Vingan did ask David Poyle what I consider to be a very tough question. In the Q&A with The Athletic yesterday, Adam Vingan asked the question, quote, when things go wrong, people search for a scapegoat. The fan base seems to have you, in reference to Poyle, in its crosshairs. The growing sentiment among Preds fans who are active on social media and in the comment section of The Athletic believe that the franchise can't move forward until you are no longer the general manager. How would you respond? Poyle joked and said, well, I'm not supposed to agree with that, am I? Laughs about it. Poyle then said, I can clearly see and don't disagree with anybody's frustration. We came so close in 2017 to winning the Cup. I felt, Poyle says, as I think most of our fans felt, that we were in good shape for the next few years with the team that we had built. The last 2 seasons have been frustrating. It hasn't gone as well as we or the fans would have hoped it would have gone. I know I held on to belief that we were closer with the 2017-18 team and hardly made any changes because of that belief. But with 2 years of a little bit of a downward trend and with approximately the same team, I changed coaches, and now we've changed a significant amount of players. The team is clearly going in a different direction, so we're going to have to see how it plays out. Poyle then finished it up with the line that you hear from every coach, every general manager, and I believe he's doing these things, but he says, I'm doing everything I can on a daily basis. If anyone thinks I'm content or happy, that would be a total misconception. I'm living and dying this every day. I'll do my best. So I have a bunch of thoughts here. The first one belongs to the idea about the 2017 team. Everybody brings up the 2017 team. Like, that team got to the Cup final. So let's keep talking about that team. That team got hot and had elite goaltending for a 3-month period. Now, the next year they were good, and they had elite Vezina Trophy winning goaltending. Pekka's not that player anymore. Saros isn't that player either. And so I just say forget about how you got to the Cup final. You got to the Cup final with goals from Colin Wilson and Pontus Aberg and a surprise hat trick from Colton Sissons And while that was great at the time and we all loved every second of it, it was kind of a fluke. And the next year, everybody was still, they were off that high and they played it. And then they got to the playoffs and the second line didn't do anything. Brian texts into the text line and says, it's going to take a legitimate rebuild with the Predators. You know it's a mess when Tom Wilson has more points than everybody on your top line. Oh, man. Yes. I don't know. Complete rebuild, I don't think so. Boston, and I've talked off the air about the 2015-16 Boston Bruins when they brought in Bruce Cassidy. They were a team that had won the Cup in 2011, went to the Cup in 2013. They fire Claude Julien, and it's a rebuild where the older core members, for the most part, leave, and they build it around Bergeron and Marchand and Chara, and they draft David Pastrnak, and they have decent goaltending with Tuukka Rask. And next thing you know, the Bruins are back into the playoffs, back into the Cup contention where they are right now. And I hope that you can do that around Josi, Forsberg, UC Saros, and Matthias Ekholm. But there are some core guys right now that simply aren't doing it, that aren't cutting the mustard, and they eventually will either have to do it, in the case of Johansson or Duchesne, or go somewhere else. Texter texts into the text line and says, I would say the penalty kill, the overpaid forwards, and even the goalies are hurting the Predators, and all of them need to be fixed right now in order for them to be successful. How long have we talked about overpaid forwards on the Predators? I mean, that goes back to my whole Johansson thing. How long have we talked about Johansson turning a corner, Johansson showing he can be the guy? I feel like that's been going on for a while. At some point, you just have to say, hey, he's not going to be that guy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Jeff Fisher said something about the Titans, something about really all of the NFL today on Darren, Donick, and Chase that has got me nervous based upon something we saw last year. I want to get to that next. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at TriStar Moving. Everybody hates moving, especially me. But not when I partner with my friends at TriStar Moving. They have a motto, TriStar Moving with 5-star service. At TriStar Moving, you will get that 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything was taken care of when I used TriStar Moving, from covering the floors, the banisters, the railings, the front door thresholds, the door itself. They wrapped and protected all of my furniture, and they put all the TVs in protective boxes. They even offer storage services in case you need a safe place for all of your stuff. They do it all. The owners, Garrett and Robert, are true Nashvillians, and they care about helping this community any way they can. So if you're looking to move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. It's really, really simple. Go to their website, NashvilleMoving.org. If you go to NashvilleMoving.org/radio, you'll get 5% off your entire move. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you. Again, TriStar Moving. I've had friends that have reached out to me. They're like, dude, is TriStar Moving? Are these guys any good? And I'm like, yes. I used them in my home. They did a great job taking care of it. They are fantastic. TriStar Moving, NashvilleMoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you. My official mover, Stillman & Company, delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
As you continue to work from home and practice social distancing, tune us in anywhere, anytime. Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
With Allstate, you can really save. Find out just how much you can save today. Visit allstate.com or call an agent to get a quote.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. The high temperature today going up to 45 degrees. Slightly below average, but not bad. Enjoy the sunshine. Last sunny day we'll see for the next 7 days. Rain returns heading into your Thursday into Friday morning.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Be a part of history and become a 2021 Nashville SC founding season ticket member. 2021 season tickets are on sale now, starting at only $18 per match.
That's a fantastic strike!
Lock in your tickets today, and for a limited time, you'll secure priority seat selection and preferred pricing in Nashville SC Stadium opening 2022. Don't miss your opportunity to be amongst the first in the new stadium. Payment plans are available at NashvilleSC.com.
Great finish! What a goal!
You'll want to be in.
If you missed the latest edition of the Preds official podcast,
Predators President and CEO Sean Henry, how do you see the future in that sense for what's to come and what could be back in Bridgestone again at some point soon?
You can see us returning to some normal crowd sizes in time for training camp. And, it just could align really well for our own season, for the comeback of concerts and shows. And we all want that. Even with that, though, we're still probably going to be practicing some distancing and then some protocols that probably last for a while because the full vaccination probably won't be finished for, I hate to say it, a year or two or maybe even 3. There are going to be some people that can't get it. There are going to be some people that choose not to get it.
Search Preds official podcast today on your favorite podcast platform. The newest edition releases every Saturday at 8 on ESPN 102.5 The Game and NashvillePredators.com.
Robbie Stanley. It's just a really bad look when it's your football team that's really the ones being selfish here.
Joe Rexrode.
Brady skirting the rules? No. Shocked face, clutch my pearls.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Where does Isaiah Wilson stand with you guys right now in terms of coming back next year and what role you see for him? And then to further out with the rookies, not only was he not out there, but Darrington, Christian, Chris, all because of injuries, probably didn't get the number of reps you maybe envisioned or hoped at the start of the year. Where do you view this rookie class as a whole at this point and how they can help you moving forward?
I can't comment on Isaiah. I wouldn't even begin to be able to eloquently have an answer for you, Steve. I just think, with those other guys, the injuries, did hurt. And I also think that the offseason, I feel like we put our guys, our young players in a great position in the offseason.
So that was Mike Vrabel talking about Isaiah Wilson. When asked after the season, he goes, you know what? I can't even comment on Isaiah Wilson. It wouldn't even be appropriate to comment on Isaiah Wilson. And I'm thinking about the Titans right now. They have got to find their pass rushers in the draft. They had a horrible draft last year. They had a horrible free agency. I mean, they brought in questionable characters. Isaiah Wilson, of course, is the most. And Vic Beasley was another one. I mean, they brought in questionable characters that we weren't sure about. So I was today thinking the big story around Nashville today is about country singer Morgan Wallen. And a lot of people don't even know who Morgan Wallen is. But Morgan Wallen is probably one of the most talented guys right now in country music. He's not Luke Combs, but he's up there. And the guy, breaks all kinds of streaming records. Like, every girl I know is like, do you listen to Morgan Wallen? And I'm like, no. But I'm familiar with the guy. Just hit. The problem with Morgan Wallen is he's had an entire year full of off-the-field, problems. Whether he was out partying on social media without a mask on and Saturday Night Live dumped him and, they ultimately rescheduled him, but they kicked him off Saturday Night Live, for his first appearance he was supposed to have. And there have been some other issues, that have really circulated in the gossip column. Today, a video was dropped by TMZ of Morgan Wallen using the N-word. And that's a word that, it's never in my vocabulary. It shouldn't be in your vocabulary. It shouldn't be in his vocabulary. But now all these country radio stations across the country are dropping Morgan Wallen's music. And I think they probably should. But it's not just what he did on videotape that has now gotten out there. there's always something with him. There's always been something in the news for the last year. Every 3 weeks, there was another story about this country singer and something that he did. And ultimately, it ended up with something really bad that may railroad his entire career that was literally headed for superstardom. And his career, it's probably not over, but he's probably never going to be the top-level star that he was originally going to be. And I kept thinking about Isaiah Wilson, right? Where there were all these stories this year, whether it was he showed up out of shape, he showed up on the COVID list, he didn't really do anything in training camp. Then he got caught at the TSU party. Then he tried to jump from the cops. Then he got the DUI. Then he went back on the COVID list. Then he got put on the non-football injury list. Then on New Year's, he's partying on a boat with strippers in Florida. Like, eventually, dude. And Jeff Fisher brought up something today on Darren, Donick, and Chase saying, hey, a lot of these teams, with the way the draft's going to be this year, a lot of these teams are going to have to get back to the basics of how they find players. Here's what Jeff Fisher said. Take a listen.
Trust Mike and trust John. They'll get it done. They'll get it done on that side. So, they got to, I want to say they have a normal off season, but they don't. Everybody's going to be watching a lot more tape right now because of what's going to go on with no combine and, pro days and stuff like that. And, go figure, these guys are going to have to watch tape now. They're going to have to evaluate people by watching tape because there's a trend that, that, now I'm not saying that it's the Titans, but in the league, there's fewer and fewer people that are watching tape. They're buying opinions, they're trusting, analytics or this to determine whether or not a kid can play. And so there's a lot of work to do this offseason with respect to building your roster back.
Now, you can prepare for it this offseason because last year everything was so sudden in the middle of March. But doesn't that scare you if you're a Titans fan? Like, and I'm talking about like scare you to death. Does that not freak you out? The idea that, hey, the Titans are going to have to just rely on the fact. They're going to have to watch the film. They're going to have to jot it all down, break everything down, see what they may. Okay, let's see this guy, Jimmy, Joey, okay. And they're going to have to, whoa now. Because wasn't that the talk last year? Wasn't the talk like all of last year, this idea of, hey, you can't evaluate guys at pro days. If they didn't run at the combine, you're going to have to analyze the tape. You're going to have to do this virtually. And they ended up with Isaiah Wilson. And there wasn't, throughout the process of all the coaches that they probably talked to and teammates and other guys getting info on Isaiah Wilson, they couldn't figure out that this guy might be a little bit of a problem. And now they're going to go back to that for this upcoming season and how they find players. That scares the daylights out of me. It should scare the daylights out of you. I trust Robinson. I trust Vrabel, especially Robinson. This guy does it his first draft as general manager of the Titans. Jack Conklin in the first round, All-Pro. Derrick Henry in the second round, All-Pro. Kevin Byard in the third round, All-Pro. That's not an accident. But last year, with everything, hey, no visits to the facility, no pro days after like February 20th. Yeah, you had the combine. This year, you don't have the combine the way it was in the past. And Robinson and Vrabel are going to have to do their homework. And I don't believe that the Titans are one of those teams that buy opinions like Jeff Fisher's talking about. I mean, I know what he's talking about. And I think we all do too, right? Which is, hey, we trust JohnnyJoeScouting.com. We trust them to do all of the detail work for us, and then we get our thinking caps on and we decide. I don't see Vrabel and Robinson being those kind of guys, which is good because that's their job. But again, how are they going to find the player they need? The pass rushers, corner, maybe a wide receiver. How are they going to do that if last year, where they had to kind of do things when they were handcuffed a little bit, ended up with Isaiah Wilson? Again, Morgan Wallen had his problems all summer long. They were well documented. I'm not a big country music guy. I'm aware of his success, but I was aware of the stories. Morgan Wallen went to jail at some point during the summer. Morgan Wallen got booted off of Saturday Night Live for partying without a mask on social media. Morgan Wallen now has been dropped by every country or a lot of country radio stations across America for using a racial slur that we all know you can't use. This isn't like an accident that Morgan Wallen screwed up on a humongous level. It's been building to that the whole time. That's why with Isaiah Wilson, I have such a hard time believing that there wasn't something at Georgia that was somewhat of a mistake that was, and sometimes we just brush it off as, hey, boys will be boys, and that's what they're going to be. But I have a really tough time, I do, with thinking that he was an angel at Georgia, came here, and all of a sudden is running from the cops at the TSU party or is getting a DUI downtown doing donuts under the influence or is on the boat out in Florida with strippers. I don't think that you just start off at that level of behavior. So I'm a little worried as far as what the Titans are going to do this offseason. And I know you heard what Jeff Fisher said. Hey, trust Mike, trust John. Those guys, they'll get it in the right scenario. They'll get you the right players. But I'm a little worried about it. And I would be, because this offseason, with last offseason being as bad as it was, this offseason is absolutely critical to the Titans if they're going to keep this window open, if they're going to keep it alive, if they're going to end up actually competing for a Super Bowl. It's going to be based off of one or two adjustments, one or two players that comes in, draft, free agency, just like Javon Kearse did in 99, that takes the team to that next level that we know they're not there yet. We knew after the Green Bay game that they weren't going to compete for the Super Bowl this season. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. TD is going to join us, Teron Davenport, in the next hour. But coming up next, they have all these redrafts are out right now where everybody takes a look at the 2020 NFL draft. Isaiah Wilson, I think, is a perfect example of this. Because if the first round were today, the Titans aren't taking him at 28. So all these different ESPN's got one. The Big League has one where they redraft the 2020 first round. Coming up next, what that should teach us when we think about 2021. We'll get to that next. Hey, I want to thank everybody who tuned in. We plan on this being an everyday thing for 4 hours of you being able to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, whatever, and be able to watch us. So let us know what you think, what you like, what you didn't like. But we are back to radio only and streaming on the app. That's Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Thursday night.